So last time we went through binary naming. What does binary mean? Two elements. Today we're going to talk about ternary and acid. So ternary would be 3 elements. Actually, that's a little bit of a misnomer because some of these actually have 4 different elements in their compounds. But really, ternary just means any of those ionic compounds that contains a polyatomic ion. Right? So knowing what those, recognizing the polyatomic ions, knowing their names and their formulas is super important for this. Okay? Yeah. So let's look at this first one. NH4NO3. You should be able to look at that and know that this contains 2 different polyatomic ions, NH4 and NO3. And from that, you should also know what their charges are. NH4 has what charge? +1. And what is NO3's charge? -1. So what is the name of NH4 plus? Ammonium. I just asked about the NH4 plus. So ammonium. Now be aware that that is not the same as ammonia because that's just NH3. It's a different compound. And then what's NO3 minus? Nitrate. So all together it's ammonium nitrate. Okay. Let's look at this one, number 10. BaSO4. Ba is what? Barium. What charge does barium have? Yep, +2 because it's in group 2. And therefore, SO4 has what charge? -2. It was one of those that where it canceled out. So how would you name this all together? Barium sulfate. Good. All right, and let's do number 4. CuCO3. CuCO3. What charge does that copper have in that compound? +2. How did you know that it was +2? Yes, because the CO3 has to be -2 because that's what it is. Therefore, the Cu has to be +2. This is where, again, recognizing those polyatomic ions, not just what elements and how many elements there are in there, but also their charges. So what would this name be? Copper 2 carbonate, because copper is one of those elements that needs a Roman numeral. Okay? Carbonate. All right, let's do a couple going from the name to the formula. Let's look at lead-2 permanganate. Lead-2 permanganate. So lead-2 is what? Pb with what charge? +2. I always find it really helpful to write out the ions with their charges kind of as an intermediate step. And what is the formula for permanganate? MnO4. It's just minus. MnO4 minus. So when you crisscross down, what do we need to do around MnO4? Parentheses. So you get Pb MnO4 2. And let's do one more. We'll do 16. Lithium acetate. Lithium acetate. All right. Symbol and charge of lithium. Li +1. Symbol and charge of acetate. C2H3O2 minus. Or if you do the CH3CO, or actually it'd be CH2COH, that's fine as well. No, it'd be CH3COO minus. That's writing it in the structural formula. Either one. All right, so what is that formula? cool. Okay? And you have other ones there you can practice. Let's move on to acid naming. Acid naming. So, looking at this, notice that 1 and 2 look like they're the exact same, right? They both say HCl. But what is different about them? They're states of matter. I've included the states of matter for those first two. The first one is a gas, and the second one is aqueous. The state of matter for acids actually tells you how to name it. When it's an acid, meaning it starts with hydrogen, and it's in the gaseous state, you name it as if it were an ionic compound. It just uses its ionic name. So acids that are gaseous just follow the ionic name. So what would the name for number 1 be? Hydrogen chloride. And that's because acids can only act as acids when they're in solution. And that's when they're aqueous. So for HCl, the aqueous form, what would that name be? Hydrochloric acid. Now for all the other ones, we're going to assume that they're all aqueous. I just wanted to point that out. We're not going to see that too much, but just kind of be aware. The state of matter actually does dictate how it acts. That kind of changes its property a little bit. So in general, if the acid doesn't contain oxygen anywhere in the formula, therefore it's most likely oxygens are normally those polyatomic ions. If there is no oxygen, then the name starts with hydro. Okay? If there's no oxygen in the acid, it starts with hydro. If there is oxygen, then you don't include hydro. If the polyatomic ion that acid includes and ends in ATE, like the normal name of that polyatomic ion is ATE, what do you change it to? Ic. So ate becomes ic. Ite becomes us. O-U-S. So ate-ic-itis. 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 Okay. So let's do a couple more of naming the acids, and then we'll do a couple of practice problems of going the other way. So let's look at number 9. Number 9, HClO. It contains oxygen, so what will the name not have? It won't have hydro. So what polyatomic ion is that? ClO minus. What is that? Hypochlorite. There's an I there. So ite becomes us. What else do you do? Yeah, you don't, what I mean is what I'm getting at is you're only changing the ending. You're not doing anything with the hypo or anything like that. So it's hypochlorous acid. Okay. What about number 3? What is ClO4 minus? Perchloric. Or perchlorate, sorry, which becomes perchloric. All right. Let's do a couple going from the name to the formula. Let's look at number 7, hydrocyanic acid. So this begins with hydro, so what does that mean the acid doesn't have? Oxygen. There's no oxygen. Okay? So when there's no oxygen, the ending had to have been IDE, because if it's ATE or ITE, that means that there's oxygen in it. So this ending was originally IDE. So after the hydro, we have cyanic. So this was really cyanide, which is what formula? CN minus 1. Put that with hydrogen. What do you get as the formula? HCN. Okay. We'll do 2 more within this, because 2 I want to point out. Number 8, that does not say periodic. I mean, I know it does, but not in this case. It's per-iodic acid. Okay? So per-iodic, what does this acid contain? Okay, iodine, yes, and oxygen, because there's no hydro at the beginning. So ic was originally 8. So this was periodate, which has what formula? What's the charge? Negative. IO4 minus. It's just like perchlorate, but it's iodine instead of chlorine. Okay? They're in like the same type of polyatomic ion. So, what is the acid formula? HIO4. The 4 is part of the polyatomic ion. You can't move that. And then one more that I want to do together, and that is number 16, oxalic acid, or oxalic acid. So ic, it doesn't say hydro, so that means that there's oxygen. Ic was originally 8, so oxalate. What is the formula for oxalate? C2O4 2 minus, or minus 2. We'll talk later about what's the difference between them. And put that with hydrogen, what do you get? And that's it. And you do not reduce that down. Okay? Because I'd be changing things. All right? Let me pause the recording. I finally figured out how to stop the recording, and now I can't remember. Found it.